I'm Wellington Ryder, Senior Advisor to the President's on my best behavior today because my boss is sitting directly to the left. But again, I want to welcome all of you for being here. And it's not by accident that we chose this setting, obviously, to talk about the future of the Rio Salado. I know the Lieutenant Governor wanted to be near the window to make sure that all of you could see that reason right before us. And while Tempe is an extraordinary example in Tempe Town Lake of what is possible here, probably many of us in the room have not traversed the entirety of the site that we're talking about. So I'd like to turn to a video that might introduce you to some places on the river and the possibilities that we imagine for this 45-mile stretch. So if we could have the video, that would be great.
Over thousands of years, this river has transformed our desert into a flourishing urban oasis. It has given life to this valley. Now, it's time to return life to the river. Continuing a journey that began more than 50 years ago, a dream is renewed, one that will connect the communities of the Phoenix metro area in an extraordinary way, one that will transform the Salt River into an area of scenic beauty that enhances lives socially, environmentally, and economically. Welcome to the Rio Salado Reimagined. Decades ago, civic-minded community leaders, including Mayors Mitchell and Giuliano and U.S. Representative Ed Pastor, had a grand vision to transform a desolate riverbed into a thriving urban asset. Today, U.S. Senator John McCain is building upon the successful foundation of those efforts to revitalize the Rio Salado project, and in the process, create a sustainable and inclusive public realm.
It was a student and faculty-led initiative at ASU in the late 60s, which resulted in the Tempe Town Lake we see today and the economic development benefits that have accrued around it. It's also one which Valley Forward, the local nonprofit designed to support this effort, pushed forward along with many other civic-minded leaders, mayors, and others. In addition to this signature project, we see other outstanding examples of how the Rio Salado can be leveraged for the benefit of the entire community. The Nina Mesa Pulliam Audubon Center, the Tres Rios Restoration Project, the Mesa Riverview, and the recently completed Rob and Melanie Walton campus of Liberty Wildlife.
Like the original concept, the goal of Rio Salado Reimagined is to improve life in the valley by enhancing environmental quality, building cultural identity, restoring wildlife habitat, and providing an economic catalyst. Rio Reimagined will be the thread that connects us all, honoring and intertwining the individual cultures and communities it touches as it meanders through the desert. The result will be an iconic greenway, dotted with unique points of engagement that further identifies the Phoenix metro area as an unprecedented destination of national significance, one we can all be proud of.
When I see the Rio Salado today, I see nothing but opportunity and promise. I have great respect for the visionaries that began this effort decades ago. To advance the work that they started, this project will require determination and resolve. Please join me in creating an extraordinary and inspiring community asset that will benefit generations to come.
So as many of you know, it was Senator McCain who, looking again at what's right behind us, knew that the possibilities for this area were profound. We have proof of point right there, and he asked the question, why aren't we doing more of this, if not in this format, some other format? And obviously that was the plan in the 80s and 90s. And so he approached Dr. Crow and myself and said, I saw in this video and in other evidence that it was students and faculty at one point who began to dream about that possibility, which led to the Tempe Town Lake. And could we start that up again? And so we're building on the past 50 years and thinking about the future 50 years. And it was, again, Senator McCain's prompting that caused us to pick this up in earnest. So what you see today is the area that he asked us to take a look at. It's some 45 miles in extent from east to west. There are 6 municipalities, two tribal communities, a lot of diversity of landscape, very different conditions with regard to water. This is a massive project. There is no doubt about it. It will take a great vision. It'll take time. But thinking about each of the individual things that are happening in these communities, and they're extensive already, how they could be knit together is really the purpose of what we're coming together about today. So I wanted to be aware of the study area that we're looking at and how we think about what the potential of that area is. Here are just a few of the thoughts that I think are irrefutable with regard to what we should be heading towards. Obviously respecting the river in every respect, building a cohesive project across the metropolitan region, maybe the first time we've thought this way, be a catalytic driver for growth. Obviously sustainability looms large in this project, and this could be a destination that others absolutely come to, knowing that when they come to the Phoenix Metro, they are going to spend time at this place. Now, you could look at the scale, 45 miles, and say, boy, really? You're going to try to manage that? Well, we know that other cities around the country are working on similarly important projects, and some of them are equivalent in length. You'll notice a project with the Trinity River in Fort Worth. It's actually twice the length of ours. They've been at it for about 15 years. They've had great success thus far. But all these other cities that you see that we're examining in terms of our precedent analysis, imagine what their river or other asset could be that would be at a scale of what we're talking about. So while that's the length of these projects, they also have a time duration. We noted that it was Dean Elmore and students that began the process here, which is why we named the footbridge right outside the window for Dean Elmore about 1 year ago to this date in this room. So thinking about the next 50 years is really what this project is about, and that's what projects like this take. They take generations of leadership to move them forward. We also know by looking at these precedents, because it's a really obvious question, it takes resources. And we put this slide on the screen to reassure you, those resources come in all kinds of formats. Here are 6 exemplar projects. Sometimes it's federal money, sometimes it's state, sometimes it's entrepreneurial support that helps to make these things happen. It can be charitable, it can be city-based, but there's a way to achieve a project if we have the will and the way, and surely resources will follow great ideas. We also learned from all the precedents we've examined, and I'd really like to acknowledge Melissa McCann in my office, who has done incredible in-depth examination of these precedents. In almost every case, there was a 3-legged stool, if you will, that helped to make these projects happen. There was a group, probably like this one, that got things going, that merges into something like a foundation. There's a revitalization corporation, and certainly an authority of some sort. So we're following that path and trying to set this project for future success by knowing what the ingredients will be to administer it. These are probably the 4 things that immediately come to mind. Tell us about water, tell us about funding, tell us about how this is going to be an economic driver, and tell us about the community benefits of such a project. So water is clearly on everyone's mind here. How could it not be? This has got to be a water-positive project. It's got to be of benefit to the region, a demonstration of innovation, and really calibrating use and benefit. So I would say what we have learned in the past 3 months is this, that water, whether in reality or perception, is going to be a leading indicator of this region. That's how people are going to know us. That's how they're going to think about us. How well did we manage such a profoundly important resource? Funding, I've already mentioned. Again, I think resources will follow ideas. We're looking deeply into all the possibilities, and you're going to hear about the Federal Urban Waters Program, which is an example. But could this project, and this has also come up in the intervening 3 months that we've been working on this, could this project be a catalyst for thinking about how you deliver grand and important projects, not only for this particular site, but for the entire state? How do we think about getting after this? And could we use this project as a laboratory for that? For the community, we have been out in the community listening as best we can, and we certainly heard the first item loud and clear. Yes, the water issue is important. Yes, economic development and other things. What about those of us who have been here for some time and maybe haven't enjoyed the benefits that some others of us have of being here? How do we make sure they're part of this planning process? How do we make sure this is inclusive? How do we make sure that people are seeing the benefits of this effort? And so we think this project is about empowering a next generation of leaders. That's clearly got to be in the DNA of this effort. And lastly, because it's, again, right on our doorstep here, this can be a driver of the future of this economy. It can be about new industries. I know I saw Chris Camacho here. I see Chris Mackey. How do we bring other companies here? Why would they want to locate on this site? And how do we also respect the industries who have been here already? I saw my friend Steve Trussell here. You know, much of what has been taken from the river, in addition to water, pretty much made the buildings that we are in today. So how do we respect those industries? How, as they transition, if and when they do, in the right format, what can those sites become? But how do we also make sure that we understand how the benefits of this place? And so I would say that around the economy, there we go, I think thinking about a new identity for this place and new expectations for this metro, because we're demonstrating innovation, will be hugely important. A lot of us know that a company like Amazon was looking for a place to have a second headquarters. They're looking for cities that are showing this kind of ambition. I think we can do that through this project. At this point, obviously, we would love to have had Senator McCain here today, but we're equally delighted to have Cindy McCain with us. She's a philanthropist of note, cares passionately about issues including this one. She's been on the forefront of thinking about the impact of human trafficking, has been essential to the McCain Institute in making sure the programming there is impactful, and we're delighted to have Cindy with us today. So Cindy, please join us.
Good morning. I am so delighted to be here and be a part of this. This is not only something that we're here for today, but all of us through the years have not only loved this project, but begged for this project. I'm so glad we're in the perfect storm now to get this whole thing started and make sure that our community is not only the best that it can be, but the most beautiful it can be as well. Duke, thank you very much for your leadership and for your dedication, and also to the entire ASU support group here. This is an amazing morning. Remember this, because this is a game changer today. I'd like to thank Lieutenant Governor Robert Stone for your wonderful blessing. Thank you. We welcome so many accomplished leaders from across Arizona officially today to kick off the project that my husband has been dreaming about for so long. Neil Giuliano reminded me it was 20 years ago that you gave him a tour and not only engaged in the dream aspect of this, but the encouragement aspect. Thank you, Neil, for all you have done for this community. All of us are here today because, like John, we share a vision for the future. I can assure you that there is nowhere John would rather be than right here today with all of you to support this aspirational undertaking. For years, John has contemplated what might be possible if we revitalize the Salt River and harness this untapped valley treasure. We know all too well that patience has never been in my husband's DNA, and he has worked hard over the last year to bring together some of the great Arizona leaders represented in this room today and to turn a dream into a reality. John especially wanted to be here to express his sincerest gratitude for your support and commitment to transforming the Rio Salado and enhancing a place that we all love. He asked me to join you today and to read a short statement, if I may, from him. My dear friends, thank you for being here today to launch a project that holds tremendous promise for our beloved state of Arizona. I especially want to thank ASU and Dr. Crow for your unwavering support, as well as the many federal, state, county, and city leaders who are gathered here today. You are true visionaries, and your commitment to enhancing our river will have tremendous benefits for generations of Arizonans to come. As you may have noticed from my incessant phone calls and meeting requests over the last year, I have long been interested in transforming the remaining 40 miles along the Rio Salado into an amenity that could serve many communities across this area. To be sure, connecting the West and East Valley through the river is not an original idea, but it is one that has never been realized. All of you assembled here today see potential in this project and share a common commitment to leave our future generations better off. Like many of you, I have traveled to every corner of this great state and found that cities with impressive features tend to attract visitors. Grand Canyon, our most visited landmark, generates millions from tourism every year. The Sedona Red Rocks, Havasu Falls, and Monument Valley, just to name a few, draw people from far and wide. Right here in the valley, thousands head to Tempe Town Lake every weekend to enjoy everything from boating, kayaking, to shopping and dining. I firmly believe we can continue the work that ASU started in the 60s to transform the remaining 40 miles along the Rio Salado and build a preeminent destination in the West. With Rio Reimagined, we are taking the first step towards establishing a vision and an organization to see this project through to its completion. This effort will take resources, energy, time, and persistence, but ultimately it will enhance the environment, boost our economy, and unite our people. All of Arizona benefits when we enhance our communities. When one city prospers, all city prospers. The Rio Salado was our chance to provide connectivity to the river, parks, trails, and to one another. Thank you for your support and commitment and perseverance. Together, we can leave this place better than we found it. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. We really appreciate it. I'd now like to invite former Congressman Ed Pastor to the stage. He's a proud Sun Devil, undergraduate and law school, so we're delighted to have him here for that reason. He was also in the House of Representatives for nearly 25 years, and during that time on the Appropriations Committee, he made sure that the resources that could be derived from federal sources were coming here to achieve things like, again, like what you see outside the window. We had a pleasant conversation about his experiences back in the day, making that happen just a few days ago, and I really enjoyed that conversation immensely, and I'm sure you'll like hearing from former Congressman Pastor.
Thank you. Good morning. Before I start, I want to extend my best wishes and my prayers to the Senator and also to Cindy and your family. Buenos dias. My inspiration to work on the Rio Salado down to the Gila, all the way down to the Agua Fria, occurred 50 years ago. I was in lecture hall at ASU taking the class Introduction to Architecture. And as part of the coursework, we were introduced to the Rio Salado, the Salt River. At that time, the Rio Salado was becoming a dump. Legally and illegally, people were using the Salt River and further down the Gila as a dumping site. And so my inspiration to work for the Rio Salado happened 50 years ago when Dr. James Elmore, Dean Elmore, made the presentation to us. My inspiration continued, and in the late 1980s, led by Denny Metcham and Terry Goddard and other community leaders, we tried an initiative, had an election to form a funding authority so that the Rio Salado could be developed. It lost, and so the inspiration was still there, but yet we didn't have the means to continue it. I had the good fortune in 1998 to be assigned to the Energy and Water Subcommittee in Appropriations, and that subcommittee had jurisdiction over the Corps of Engineers. From 98 to about 2010, with the support of the subcommittee, and I would tell you bipartisan support of the subcommittee, we were able to secure the funding in which the Corps of Engineers, the Maricopa Flood Control District, the City of Phoenix, the City of Tempe, were able to begin and complete many projects that were part of the vision and the concept that Dr. Elmore had for the Rio Salado. We were able to take 19th Street to 19th Avenue, Central Phoenix, and create the Rio Salado with the Audubon Center. We were able to take the crazy idea that Neil Giuliano had of creating a Tempe Town Lake, and it got constructed and got completed, and you can see the results of that. We were able to connect the Indian Bend Wash with Tempe Lake. We were able to create the wetlands on 99th Avenue, better known as the Tres Rios. And we've begun some work on Rio Salado Este. And that was through the effort, collective effort of the Corps, the cities I mentioned, and the Flood Control District. But here we are this morning, still inspired by Dr. Elmore and his concept and the belief that we can bring life back to the river and to continue this project. So it does connect all of us from the west side to the east side, from Mesa to Buckeye, and create an amenity that not only brings us economic development, brings us recreation, but is an attraction so that we can continue to bring development into our great state. And so here we are this morning, hopefully inspired by the words of Senator McCain, by the site that you see in front of you of Tempe Town Lake, and to say, why not? And so I, along with you, are ready to start working for the next 50 years or plus to ensure that future generations will get to see the life brought back to our river, the Rio Salado.
So a lot of you may have known Dean Elmore. He was, excuse me, there we go, indefatigable with his interest in Tempe Town Lake and other projects, and towards the end of his life, I had many breakfasts with him. You may have known he didn't hear that well, and he said, Duke, I can't hear, so I'm just going to talk at you for the next 2 hours. So I heard a lot about what took to make this happen and what could be. And obviously, to achieve things like this, Representative Pastor mentioned this, his relationship with the Corps of Engineers. Virtually every one of the precedent projects I showed you began with flood control. In all of those cities, how do we manage the water? How do we keep it from inundating the things we're investing in? And then after having built that infrastructure, how do we make sure that it's more than that? How do we make sure that it's an asset and just not so much walls and things to keep the water away from where we don't want it? And so the Corps has that responsibility. We're delighted to have representatives of the Corps on a team that works with us on a regular basis to imagine what this could be. We're also delighted to have federal representation here from the Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of Agriculture and the Forest Service, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and the U.S. Geologic Survey in the audience with us today. But I would like to invite Brigadier General Peter Hemlinger up to the stage to talk about the Corps' interest in this project.
Thank you, Duke. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here today representing the Army Corps of Engineers, South Pacific Division. My thanks goes out to Senator McCain and his staff for their dedication and leadership. A vision of this scope needs a champion, and Senator McCain has truly been that champion for the people of Arizona and our nation. I also want to recognize the hard work of our federal, state, county, tribal, and local partners, and all of you who have been part of this great effort. A special thanks goes out to the Rio Salado Reimagined Project Working Group, Dr. Michael Crow and the Arizona State University, who've had such a central role in reimagining this river. It is truly encouraging to see what shared vision, dedication, and partnership have achieved along the Salt River. The Corps of Engineers is proud to be part of this community, working on projects alongside our partners on the river and beyond. Working within our existing authorities, the Corps' Los Angeles district partnered with the cities of Phoenix and Tempe to restore more than 7 miles of the Salt River, investing more than $118 million of federal and local funds. This investment enhanced native plant communities and habitat for federally listed threatened and endangered species by returning the area to a more natural condition. These habitats are especially valuable due to their scarcity and the number of species that depend upon them. In partnership with the Gila River Indian Reservation and the City of Phoenix, the Tres Rios Environmental Habitat Restoration Project has completed construction already on 3 miles of levee, as well as constructed overbank and flow-regulated wetlands. These features reduce flood risk and improve water quality using natural processes. The Tres Rios project has also rehabilitated around 500 acres of vital wetlands and riparian habitat to date, improving the environment and helping drive ecotourism in the area. Additionally, recent supplemental design efforts will help us complete construction of a recreation trail in partnership with the City of Tempe. Together, we have made some tremendous accomplishments reducing flood risk, improving water quality, and creating opportunities for communities to connect with the river. Historically, the Salt River has been a vital resource in the region's growth. It has provided for the natural, cultural, and economic well-being of diverse communities along its banks. Rio Salado Reimagined recognizes the river's critical role in the future of our health, economy, and natural environment. Looking forward, we can see how the river unites us. Restoring, protecting, and managing our river systems is a team effort. It takes collaboration and innovation with government, industry, academia, and philanthropic organizations. These diverse organizations and communities recognize the importance of the river to our safety, economy, and quality of life. However, revitalizing the river is more than a multi-agency effort. It is inherently a multi-generational effort. Our children and grandchildren will inherit this river and the decisions we've made, just as we've inherited the decisions and legacy of the generations before us. This is why I'm such a big advocate of recreation along our waterways. This is how we connect the next generation to the river. They need to see the value of the river for themselves. They will carry on what we've started and protect this resource. Too often in our history, we've turned our back on our urban waterways and forgotten their importance to public safety, prosperity, and health. Here along the Rio Salado, an ambitious vision is being realized. Through your collaboration and innovation, the river has become the central focus in the Valley of the Sun. I thank you all for your partnership in what we've already accomplished, and I am committed to the vision of the future for the Salt River and its communities. Thank you all. Thank you.
So one of the things that our office, as this interim step towards something more permanent that will manage this in the future, is to make sure that we're fully aware of what can be done at the federal level and seeing all of the project that the Corps is involved with here on the river and how they can work together has been part of our process and what we'd like to do. It has also involved ways that really innovative programs that exist in the federal government around projects like this can be brought to bear here in the Phoenix metro region. And to that end, I'd like to bring Tomas Torres to the podium to talk about his work and also the Urban Waters Initiative.
Thank you. Well, good morning. I think I've got a double mic here, so it might be in stereo. It's really a pleasure for me to be here. My name is Tomas Torres, and I'm the director of the Water Division at the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency here in San Francisco. We've been working together with the communities here for many decades. It is something that really resonated with us when we heard about Rio Salado because it's visionary, it's ambitious, and it's something that connects the community to its waterways. That's something that we really promote. And at the core of its mission is economic development and environmental protection, which they go hand in hand. I wanted to talk briefly about a program that EPA launched back in 2011, and it's called the Urban Waters Federal Partnership. And the premise of it is very simple: bringing together federal agencies with the local communities to demystify, funding mechanisms, technical assistance, priorities. It's often very obscure where the different federal agencies are focusing on, what priorities, how to access those resources. And so this partnership brought communities across the country, 19 different communities across the country together with 15 federal agencies to do just that. In particular, we've been focusing on one of the projects here in our region, which is the Los Angeles River Federal Partnership. That was also launched about 8 years ago, and just like Rio Salado, it had a very big vision, a very long-term goal to connect the community to its waterways, and especially focusing on disadvantaged and underserved communities along the river. And the goal was really to restore the recreation of the river for the community. So what was once a polluted channel, concrete channel, is now a place where communities come to meet. There's parks, there's now bikeways, there's greenways that have been set up. One of the things that partnership is now embarking on is to redevelop a 41-acre abandoned rail facility to eventually convert that into affordable housing, into additional greenscapes for the community to come to the river and recreate and enjoy it. That's something that we really stand behind and support. One of the lessons learned from this past decade of working in these urban waters federal partnerships is that you really need a central point of contact, what we call ambassadors. And those are folks that ensure that everyone has a voice, a seat at the table, that they navigate the public and private financing mechanisms, that communicate with other partnerships across the country to either lend a hand or to get assistance, to share lessons learned. And that is a critical component of any of these partnerships to ensure that you have at least a core infrastructure of communication and coordination. One of the things that we've been focusing on as of late is working with ASU and some of the partnership here to connect the Rio Salado with the other 19 partnerships across the country to understand the infrastructure, the mechanisms, the lessons learned that have been gained over the past decade. And we're more than happy to continue to invest in that endeavor with you. I did want to say a couple of quick words. While the LA River has been a very important partnership for our regional office, we're also working here in the Rio Salado for the past decade. We've been working with the City of Phoenix, with the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, and a few other agencies to conduct environmental assessments, which are, as you know, very critical to redeveloping vacant lands. In that particular case, we were able to convert the 10-acre auto shredding facility into what's now a 170,000 square foot facility where the City of Phoenix houses their police department specialty unit equipment. We've been working with the City of Mesa to conduct, again, soil sampling, environmental assessments that were necessary to allow the 5.8 mile extension of the city's light rail into down Main Street. We were supporting the Salt River Pima-Maricopa Indian community to restore wetlands along the Rio Salado, to remove invasive species, to revegetate the river. And really that project actually stopped about 10,000 tons of sediment that normally get into the river and downstream of the river from occurring, which, as many of you know, that decimates the aquatic ecosystems in the river. And we want to prevent that from happening. Over the past decade, EPA has been utilizing our brownfields program here in the Rio Salado to invest about $4.6 million in seed money. And many of you know that seed money, it may not seem like a lot of money, but seed money sometimes is the leverage that you need to propel these projects to move forward. And we've been investing in that in many redevelopment projects along the Rio Salado over the past decade. Finally, 2 years ago, EPA awarded an urban waters grant to ASU. And the premise of that was to bring the urban youth to the river, to teach them about the urban pollution challenges, and really build them up as our future stewards of the environment. And we're really proud of that project and can't wait to hear the results of that. It's still ongoing. Finally, I just want to congratulate ASU, the partnership, Senator McCain, Mrs. McCain, for your leadership. EPA stands ready to join you in our support and to make sure that the vision of the Rio Salado comes to fruition. It's a great pleasure for me to be here, and thank you so much.
So you heard in Mr. Torres' remarks that many of the issues that this program supports are in our 4 big items around economic development, connecting the river to the community. All those things that are of importance to us are embedded in this program, and we're delighted that it exists and that we can tap into it. Obviously, support for projects like this come at all scales. And as Representative Pastor pointed out to me the other day, it was the county flood district that was instrumental in helping so much happen here. So at the county level, their involvement is critical to this project. I think Supervisor Bill Gates is in the audience. I haven't seen him, but we thought he was going to be here, and he may be. But I would love to invite Chairman Steve Chukri up to the stage to talk about the county's interest in this effort.
So I'm going to ask you to indulge me for one quick second, and that is to tell you that the world is really the size of a handkerchief. My dad immigrated from Beirut, Lebanon, right here in Tempe, when he was just a young teen, maybe 12, 13 years old. And he went to Tempe High School. And lo and behold, who was his classmate but Harry Mitchell? And Harry said to my dad, he said, "Alex, not many people in Tempe, Arizona understand Arabic. You got to learn English." So not as a teacher, but as a classmate, he helped teach my dad English as an immigrant to this country, and I'll never forget that. 20 years ago, I was a young Capitol Hill staffer for then Congressman Matt Salmon. Tempe was part of Matt's district at the time. Then Mayor Neil Giuliano called me and said, "Hey, when you're out here next time, we need to get you to check out this project, this Rio Salado project." And so we hopped in a truck, and we went up and down these embankments behind us, and you know, I'm a 27-year-old kid thinking I know everything because I work on Capitol Hill, and I said, "Mr. Mayor, I just don't see it happening," you know, and he looked at me, and he had this smile, and he said, "How old are you again, son?" And I learned. Fast forward, 20 years later, Senator John McCain calls and says, "Hey, I want to talk to you about this project." Now, I might have been dumb the first time, but I wasn't going to be dumb the second time. And I said, who other than John McCain has the vision and the guts to imagine more water in the desert? Now let's talk about Senator McCain for a moment. Senator McCain, with decades of experiences and accomplishments in the U.S. Senate, from foreign policy to written history that we see today, says this project's important. Why? Why? Because he loves Arizona. Because he has a vision for what we can be, which is why we're here today. I, as a 27-year-old punk kid, thought this was nothing. It couldn't happen. It was something that Neil thought he could pull out of a hat, and he did. So this is 2.0. And Maricopa County is the 4th largest county in America. We were the fastest growing county in 2016, 222 new people every day. We just broke a record. We just got the numbers on Monday. In 2017, we were the 2nd consecutive year the fastest growing county in America, 201 people per day. So with that comes opportunity, which is why we're here today. But with that comes responsibility. And this is responsibility. When you look at the mayors and you look at the city councilmen and all the government leaders here today, this is a collaborative effort. This is a collaborative effort to see the vision of our future Arizona forward. And that's exactly what this does. So I applaud all of you. I applaud Senator McCain and you, Cindy. And thank you for allowing Maricopa County to be a part of it. Thank you.
Again, to follow on Supervisor Chukri's remarks, the Maricopa Association of Governments is an active participant in this project with us. And if you look at the extensive mapping they're doing of this area and where the growth is going to occur, where businesses are going to be assembled, it's going to be along the Rio Salado corridor. And as we dig deeper into this project, we'll be illuminating that because I think everything you just mentioned is backed up by the data. So the purpose of this meeting, in part, was to, again, offer a point of initiation. One of the things we've learned from the precedent studies that we've been examining is you have to decide to decide. You have to decide to move forward. You have to confirm that we're all in it together. And so that takes leadership at all levels, as you've already seen, but certainly at the mayoral level. And as they've been mentioned several times, and again, we wouldn't be in this building without them, I'd like to have Mayors Mitchell and Giuliano stand, if you would, please. Thank you, and acknowledge your great work. And I'd like to have now the mayors of the municipalities affected or impacted or participating in this project come forward. What we're going to do is a formal signing to demonstrate that, in fact, we are all in it together, and it represents the good work that we have been doing, the way that councils have come together and said, yeah, this is quite interesting. We would like to be participating in this. And what we're agreeing to today is to cooperate and to think about all the things that we could do together. And so these are the entities that are going to come forward today. And I'd like to invite them to join my colleague Kate Carefoot over here to my left. And as we've often done this, we do it sort of east to west, because how else do you figure out the order when you have this many mayors and this many important people? And we're delighted to have them all. So I'd like to invite City of Mesa Vice Mayor David Luna to come forward. President Delbert Ray, the Salt River Pima, president of the Salt River Pima-Maricopa Indian Community. City of Tempe Mayor Mark Mitchell. City of Phoenix Mayor Greg Stanton. Governor Stephen Rowe Lewis of the Gila River Indian Community. The City of Avondale Councilman Sierra. City of Goodyear Mayor Georgia Lord. City of Buckeye Mayor Jackie Meck. Maricopa County Supervisor Chukri, you'd think I'd have that down, and Salt River Project President David Rousseau. What they are doing is signing a document that has to do with the following items. It's essentially what we've been talking about this morning. We're going to have a public-private partnership. We're going to try to see how our respective projects in our communities can be tethered together and be more than the sum of the parts. We are looking collectively at what this project can mean in terms of economic development. We want to make sure that we respect the resources that are here, obviously water foremost amongst them, and use this project as a demonstration site of what this community can be. And that requires cooperation. It requires what you're seeing to my left, where people have examined the issues, they see the benefits, they want to do this collectively. They're also suggesting in their signing that they know we're going to have to form some sort of an entity. Arizona State is happy to lend its good offices to the convening of a meeting like this and the extensive work that my staff and others have been doing at ASU. But this is not a university project. this has to be a community project. The university, as you'll hear from President Crow, is more than willing to step up and participate in the assembly of the ideas, lending our science, our expertise, our engineering, whatever else we have to offer this project, we will do that. But this project, while we appear to be maybe leading at the moment, we're simply acting, I think, as the appropriate convener of a discussion, but we will be a participant, knowing that I think the community is going to get behind us based on what you're seeing now. And I think we want to make sure that we draw in all of the scales of government into this project. Obviously, they've been hinted at very clearly here at the county level, at the state level, regional level, federal level. This group and the body that they will form will make sure that we get that done. So that is the purpose of a formal demonstration of willingness to cooperate and the signing that we're looking at today. Just as we've been able to go through the archives that are in our libraries and elsewhere of what happened 50 years ago, you saw those students in that black and white photograph, Dean Elmore's class, our ability to see what they were doing. And by the way, they were way off in terms of scale. You should have seen some of those student drawings. They had barges going up and down the Rio Salado. No kidding, and I spent 10 years of my life in Louisiana, so I know how big a barge is. But you know, their enthusiasm is what came through in those drawings. The fact that they may have had some of the scale issues not quite right didn't really matter. I see Professor David Schatzley in the audience who was with many of those students, and I'm not sure if any members of that class are here. Are any members of the class 67, 68 here? We had a ceremony in this room about a year ago where we had about a dozen of them, and they came back for the naming of the bridge. Their enthusiasm to this day for what they did then and what they see now was extraordinary, as well as the family members that came with them. So I think what you're witnessing here is an agreement to cooperate, to see what we can do collectively. And when others come to this region deciding to locate a business, deciding to move here, they'll be looking to efforts like this as affirmation of, yeah, this is a place that's got it together. This is a place where things can happen. So that is the purpose of today's signing. Now, it's always interesting, and I've said this before because many of the mayors are my friends because we do things like this together a lot, to invite mayors to say a word. I've seen Neil saying, oh, absolutely not, what are you thinking? But this was in the agenda, and when I say a word, obviously, we had some testimonials from these mayors about the importance of this project. So, and I think there is a handheld mic. I think Kate has one. So if any of the mayors would like to say a word about this project and the meaning of it, again, I think we're keeping our remarks to, believe it or not, 30 seconds or so, but I want to make sure that you're offered that opportunity. So Kate, if you want to hand the mic to whoever might like to say something.
Good morning. I'm David Luna, I'm Vice Mayor for the City of Mesa. Rio Salado has played an essential part of Mesa's history, from the time of the Hohokams to the founding pioneer families of the 1870s. This is a unique opportunity to embrace our rich history and use it to shape our future. We applaud Senator John McCain's leadership for pushing this project forward, and we are excited to collaborate with our neighboring communities and fully utilize the potential of Rio Salado.
Good morning, Lorenzo Sierra from the great city of Avondale, Arizona's newest all-America city. I want to thank you for the opportunity to dream out loud today about what generations yet unborn will be seeing. People often ask me, what is Avondale going to be like when it grows up? This project is what Avondale is going to be when it grows up. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for having us, and from the home of ISM Raceway and from the home of the Tres Rios wetlands, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Greg Stanton, Mayor of the City of Phoenix, here along with my colleagues who are in the audience. I know Councilwoman Kate Gallego is here, as well as Councilman Jim Waring are here as well, but this project is unanimously supported by Council. Just a quick word of thanks. The people on this stage, there's a lot of history with the Rio Salado. In the city of Phoenix, you heard about some of the great projects that have already occurred. Tres Rios, Rio Salado Oeste. So I just want to publicly say thank you to Congressman Ed Pastor, who I politely would suggest is maybe the most impactful congressman we have ever had. Not just those projects, but light rail, so many improvements to our airport, bus improvements, air quality, et cetera. So Congressman, thank you for your great leadership. We have a strong base to build upon. To Cindy McCain, thank you for your leadership. I know you're here representing Senator McCain, but in your own right, your leadership on the City of Phoenix Human Trafficking Task Force, which has been tremendously successful, your national and international leadership on those as well. And of course, we have a huge thank you to Senator McCain. At least for me, we all have our McCain-Rio Salado stories. Mine was when I first was elected mayor. He got off a plane from Afghanistan and came and met with me and said, I want you to work on two things as mayor: Rio Salado and helping the Arizona Coyotes. Those were his two priorities for me. So, and I really want to say thank you to these other mayors and great city leaders. People need to know the cities get along great in our region. We work well together. We like each other. I consider them my teammates when it comes to economic development activities or transportation or public safety, air quality, and of course this project as well. So one of the reasons I have so much optimism about this particular project and this effort is that I know that these cities, we know we're working so well together and we act as teammates, and that's the reason why I think this project is going to be a huge success. So thank you ASU and everyone else for getting this going, and of course Senator McCain for making this his legacy project among so many other good things he's done for our community. Thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is Mark Mitchell, Mayor of the great city of Tempe. Thank you so much. Welcome to Tempe. Welcome to the Tempe Center for the Arts. As you can see, just imagine the possibilities growing up in Tempe and seeing what the river bottom looks today. No one would ever imagine it, but it took a lot of effort and teamwork and commitment from a lot of different entities. I remember when I was a student at ASU, my father was mayor, and we worked with the governor's office at Simonton at the time and all the congressional delegations to look at an Army Corps of Engineers to see how all this could imagine what it is today. So it's a great effort. I want to thank all the mayors for being involved and looking at the possibilities. Thank you, Senator McCain and Cindy McCain, for your leadership and everything that you've meant to Arizona and to the city of Tempe, one-time residents in Tempe. So thank you so much for being here today, and this is a great project to look towards future generations.
Well, thank you so much. And Mrs. McCain, thank you for being here. We have sort of a different connect of being a military family for 30 years and in the Air Force, and we had a Navy assignment for 4 years. My husband went to Vietnam the first time with your husband. So who would know? And also, your husband spoke at the graduation of my daughter from the Naval Academy. So you can see the Lord made sure that we were connected somehow. This is an inspirational project for the state of Arizona. And the mayors have been talking about the East and the West. And I can remember the day I came in, there wasn't a lot of relationship between the East and the West, right? You know, you're smiling, I know that. And so this was such a wonderful opportunity for the state of Arizona. This is a legacy. And so I just thank you from the bottom of my heart for including Goodyear. From the vice mayor down to all the council members, they are 100% for this. The only thing I wish is that someday God will let us look down from heaven and see where we are in the progress of this, because it is visionary and it is going to take a great deal of time and brilliance. And so I look forward to our name of our city being on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My name is Jackie Beck. I'm the mayor of the great state of Buckeye, Arizona. 2 weeks ago, I had a heart attack, 100% blockage. I'm standing here before you today so I can see the end product of the Rio Salado 2.0. Senator McCain, Cindy, thank you for what you've done. Congressman Pastor, unbelievable man. And ASU for becoming a part of this with the cities. This is tremendous. My wife asked me this morning, am I going to come And I said, I'm coming if I need to come here in an ambulance. I asked my vice mayor, Eric Osborne, I said, if I fall, hold me up long enough to sign. So I'm pleased to be here. I started working on the Salt River, the Gila River in the Buckeye area, 1975. This is an unbelievable dream for me. It is big, and it is great, and it's wonderful. Vice Mayor, you have to continue this legacy. I may not be around. I've got a second chance, and I appreciate that. But thank you all for being here, and especially for the help that we're doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm Delbert Ray, president of the Salt River community. Can you say on Akmar? Salt River. That's what that is. You know, and the last time I was looking at a video footage of the last time we were together on this matter, and the word that I used with Pabochuekat, potential, you know, and I saw that in the writing by the senator, and so he was listening too, I said, so. But you know, the thing about it is we've come a ways now, you know, we're off the shore here, and you know, when I first heard about the idea, and what I mentioned at the time was this is our second round with the Bashalai project, that the community didn't favor that for some reasons. Right now, they've given me full blessing to go forward with this matter, you know, and to know, you know, we got some really fabulous people to work with, you know, and just, I think one of the best features that was mentioned in there is just the connection, whether it's the Army Corps of Engineers, ASU, mayors, and other cities, you know. But it is going to take all of us to do this, you know, and I appreciate the senator's vision, and again, his encouragement, and again, the potential that is here for us to take our state, our areas that we reside in to a whole different level, you know, and it's just sitting here watching that water out there and say, wow, you know. But thank you for each one of you for being here. Thank you for, you know, the unity that's here in this room. And again, my prayers and wishes to the senator. Thank you, Congressman Pastor, for your leadership in the great institution of ASU. God bless.
Thank you. Any more takers? How about that, Neil? Pretty impressive, huh? All right. If you would all like to take your seats, you're more than welcome here. So I want to let you know that in addition to the municipalities, we've also been actively working with Arizona Forward, Greater Phoenix Leadership, Valley Partnership, Greater Phoenix Economic Council, Westmark, to name but a few. So you're seeing elected officials here today, but the organizations that also represent the region in all kinds of ways, many having to do with economic development, have demonstrated their enthusiasm for this project, and we've worked hard to get out there and make sure their interests are incorporated into whatever we choose to do here. I want to let everybody know we are doing very well on time, right on schedule, and so we plan to conclude around 10 o'clock, and I think we'll make it quite well. I'll never forget when we had our first meeting in the Audubon Center with many of these mayors, and Mayor Meck said, you know, what we're doing here is planting the seeds that will produce the trees that will provide the shade for future generations. That certainly resonated with that crowd that day. So thank you all very much for being here. So it's my great honor to introduce the president of Arizona State University to affirm our interest in this project and support for it. So Dr. Michael Crow.
Thank you, Duke, and thank you to all of you for being here. Cindy, thank you for being here with, in spirit and physically with us on behalf of your family and the senator. When you make a commitment to John McCain, you realize before you say yes, you better do it. And our commitment to the senator on behalf of the community, on behalf of the university, is that We will do everything in our power, everything that we have, every ounce of energy that we have at ASU to help facilitate this project. Now, this project, both to the senator and to us, is not a water project. It's not a physical project. It's not an economic development project. It's a project about the future. It's a project about the future that connects to the past. And so it's a project about connection. So when Theodore Roosevelt was here over 100 years ago to kick off what became one of the most successful public infrastructure investment projects in American history, the development of the Salt River Project, the development of the irrigation systems, the ultimate movement of agriculture to this region, the river was sacrificed, in a sense. This thing that had flowed forever had been the lifeblood of hundreds, if not thousands, of generations of people that they had been connected to, this river. And that river was, in a sense, I think now looking back historically, temporarily sacrificed. It didn't have to be sacrificed in the long run. We now have the know-how, the technology, the wisdom, the insight, the understanding, the cultural perspective, the connectivity to all peoples, not just the people that settled here, but the people that lived here before settlement. All of this is built around and connected to this river. So people often say to me at the university, it's kind of funny, I get really, really weird questions. A lot of people think we're all crazy. Somehow lately I've had people asking me if we're just a factory for young communists. Like, really, where would they get a job? And so one of our principal assignments here at ASU is to really concentrate on the future. In some ways, we view ourselves as protectors of the future. How do we develop the next generation of thinkers, the next generation of dreamers? How do we have those next generation of dreamers and thinkers connected to the past, aware of the past, an actual understanding of history, rather than perhaps some of the distortions of history that haven't left us with the kinds of insights that we're able to have now? The next generation of ideas. This lake out behind us was an idea coming from faculty dreamers, students, people that could think about things, but also the future of our country. So people think that the country is done, it's all made, all the great cities are finished, all the great achievements are completed, all the great universities have already been constructed. I'm like, you kidding me? We've just gotten started. And so we have an opportunity here in metropolitan Phoenix, in greater Phoenix, we have an opportunity to build America's greatest city. One deeply connected to its past. One deeply connected to everyone who's ever lived here. One in which the central connecting theme can be the place that we are. We don't have to destroy the natural environment. We don't have to destroy that which we love, the beauty that surrounds us. We can enhance it. We can take this city. This is something that long ago the Athenians, as they struggled in their development of the idea of democracy, said over 2,000 years ago, that their duty, their responsibility, our responsibility as leaders sitting in this room, is to deliver the city, that's what they referred to as their democracy, more beautiful than it was delivered to us, so that everyone in the future would have an opportunity to partake of the democracy and the place. Well, that's what we're doing here. We're trying to make this place work. This river running through the heart of this place, as it grows, as it evolves, as it develops, is a river of time. It's a river of history. It's a river of understanding. It's a river of beauty. It's a river of opportunity. It's all of those things. And so this project is the kind of thing that when John McCain says to us, I need you at the university and you personally, meaning me, to help make this project work, help protect the future, we're all in. And today, Cindy, I hope you can report back to John that we're all in. This project's moving forward. This project will take a long time. It won't take as long as people think, because I believe anything that people talk about taking 50 years can be done in 10. The rest is just a discussion. And you can have less discussion and just make it work. And so we're excited about being a part of this project. Our commitment is to do everything that we can to help facilitate the project, to take every asset that we have, every tool that we have, every person that we have, every idea that we have to make this work. Now, when this is done, this is what you need to envision. This whole place will be reconnected. Reconnected to nature, reconnected to cultures, connected between cultures. And this place will continue its emergence as what I think of one of the greatest examples of what an American city, a diverse community of every culture and every background and connection to nature and all the things that we stand for here, will be the city on the hill, will be the more beautiful city in terms of painting the way for the future. So, Cindy, please say to John that we're all in, we're moving forward, we're committed on this project, and we're going to make this happen. Thank you.
Just building on President Crow's remarks, there's some cities that were almost foregone conclusions. There was a harbor there was the mouth of a river, there was a great lake. A city had to be in some of those places. This city has been invented. It was engineered by our forebears who came here millennia before us. We've engineered and created this place, so the idea of a university participating and advancing that notion of innovation around cities is absolutely what this project can be the hallmark of. So in conclusion, I think we just went backwards there. I'd like to say just two things. One, if you're waiting for the punchline, well, okay, now show us the vision. That would be obviously premature. I just heard we're going from 50 years to 10 years, so we got to speed the process up a little bit. But at this point, this has to be a product of the community. And so while we have 20-some classes right now at ASU of students of all stripes, whether in the policy area, the design area, the environmental area, planning area, engineering, looking at this project so they too can contribute ideas to it, we are not bringing a preordained solution or answer to what could be here. That's going to come from all of you, and we want to help orchestrate that. We want to participate in that process, and we will deliver whatever expertise we can to facilitate that. And the last thing I would like to say is I've been joined in this effort by some great people. And first and foremost, I want to recognize Austin Kennedy out of the Senator's office. Austin, if you could stand, please. Well, and Cindy, you can report this back to the Senator. Austin has been relentless with regard to this project. Relentless, trust me. And it's been great because we have achieved a lot, more than I think we ever could have imagined. I also want to apologize in advance for not being able to acknowledge all the public officials in the room. This project and the assembly here today was built on your participation, so I'd like to acknowledge you as a group. I would also like to acknowledge a little kitchen cabinet we have who's been advisors to us on a weekly basis, including Austin, of course, but Neil Giuliano, Cheryl Lombard, Brad Wright, who helped to write the agreement today and getting everybody around the table, Steve Betts, Sarah Porter. They've been instrumental as sounding boards to me and my team along the way to make sure that what we're suggesting gets us one more rung up the ladder towards what will be an incredible project. And lastly, I would like to thank especially Melissa McCann and Cece Revere on my team who for the past week, I can tell you, have put in more than a week's worth of work. Melissa, if you could stand, and Cece in the back, I want to thank the two of you. And also Kate Carefoot, who was graciously shepherding the mayors to the signing table. One of the features of their work is a website, which I believe is now live, so that what you're hearing about this project, you will be able to access in real time. You'll hear about future meetings, you'll hear about progress, things that are going on with this project that you need to know about should be on this site, and it will be a resource for the entire community. I think you'll also see in today's Republic a letter penned by Senator McCain and Dr. Crow, again demonstrating their enthusiasm for the project and inviting the community to rally around it. I'd just like to say that in closing, this has been a great assembly. The way that people responded to coming to this gathering to affirm their interest in this project has been heartening, and we look forward to working with all of you in the years to come. So thank you very much for being here today.